Okay, I know I got some explaining to do.
I got it.
Let's start with the elephant in the room.
Yes, I'm Asian. Yes, my family's black. And yes, I've always been hard to miss.
This is Coco.
College is what you make it. Once you immerse yourself in the opportunities here, I'm sure that you will find W has so much to offer.
I mean, too hoe or not too hoe, like.
Don't forget who you are. Coco, that girl, Jackson.
For a lot of people, this is hard to understand, but black culture is the only culture I know.
Okay.
Tiger, tiger. Pride, pride. W, you know.
For every person that prejudges you, there are dozens of people that can't wait to get to know you.
Yeah.
That's why I chose Rat University. So I could be with people who get me.
So that I can figure out who I am beyond the comfort of what's familiar.
Yeah, I'm Asian, but I grew up with a black family, and that means I grew up eating fried chicken and cornbread, and do you got McDonald's money? I hope you enjoy this terrible black scent, because I am going to be using it the whole time. Sure, if this had come out 10 years ago, my role would definitely be played by Aquafina, you know what I'm saying? Now let's get into some ghetto hood rat ratchet shit. Not so fast. I'm here to be framed as an unnecessarily antagonistic hater. Yo, why you hating so much? Well, you see, I'm a dark-skinned black woman in a bigger body, so it is my sworn duty to be antagonistic towards you. It's gonna be framed as me being a little too woke for my own good. Like, when I point out that you have privilege or that you're a bit of a culture vulture, everyone else is gonna act like I'm being completely insane, even though I'm easily the most reasonable character in this godforsaken series. Man, that's whack. I'm gonna hang out with my series of black sidekicks whose names you probably won't remember. I might even occasionally call my cousin. Hey girl, it's me, your black cousin, and while you're off going to college, I can't go to college because I am a knocked up, pregnant, teenage black mom statistic, as you see. And that, of course, means my life is over. Unless, of course, you encourage me to get an abortion, which I will do so I can maybe come to school with you next semester. But also, when I tell my boyfriend about it, he will presumably attack me. Like, there's some presumed domestic violence happening, even though nothing is ever really done about it. It's never fully addressed in the narrative because the show just kind of abruptly ends. I'm one of your black sidekicks, and I have chlamydia because I slept with this guy who sexually assaulted me. Like, he literally took off the condom mid-sex and intentionally gave me chlamydia. But the show is mostly going to treat this like a faux pas, like something he did that was kind of whack, that, you know, wasn't cool, but not like a literal fucking crime. Like, it doesn't seem to be taken with that kind of weight. People are just like, oh, that's really not cool what he did to you. You ought to confront him on it and tell him that's not cool. Like, he doesn't already know that it's not cool to take your condom off mid-sex and also give someone chlamydia on purpose. Hey, we're the two pointless love interest. We don't really contribute to the story much. The darker skinned one of us will be evil, though. He'll be an evil player who is just trying to get with the main character so that he can fill out his infinity gauntlet with all the races of women, because that's a literal thing that he says in the narrative, because, you know what Tyler Perry says, dark skinned black men, evil. Light-skinned black men, nerdy. The better one for you. But she'll end up with neither of us. Both of our plot lines will just kind of be dropped like hot rocks. Show nothing, yo, ratchet, ghetto, yeah, swam, yeah, ghetto, ratchet, ghetto. That's how most of the stories go in this series. Like, a lot of plot lines will just be dropped for no reason. They'll be brought up and then dropped. And don't forget the music.
R&B and hip-hop music from Tubi. The lyrics are hyper-specific to the scene.
Terrible. And the whole thing ends with me discovering my privilege and ending racism by telling off a cop, who just leaves because I tell him to. Because that's how cops work. So long as you're anything but black, you can control cops like the dinosaurs in Jurassic World. It's not like most cops are trigger-happy, power-drunk maniacs. Brought to you by Keke Palmer.
I watched the first 2 episodes of Southern Fried Rice, so you don't have to. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's Keke Palmer's new show featuring an Asian woman at an HBCU, and it's receiving a lot of backlash on social media. From what I can tell, there are 3 main points of contention. Number 1, her best friend can't go to college because she's pregnant. Number 2, the main antagonist is the angry black woman stereotype. And number 3, there's an overall lack of nuance in terms of HBCU representation. In this video, we're also going to be discussing the responses to the backlash from Keke Palmer, the executive producer, and Nakia Stevens, who is the writer of the show. Let's start with the storyline about her best friend.
Whole life, I've been doing everything to make sure I didn't end up like my mama.
SGA, AP classes, extracurricular activities. But somehow I still end up pregnant and stuck in my hometown working at Walgreens. You wanna know the worst part? Everybody just accepted the news. I started planning a baby shower.
When I first saw this scene, it made me feel sad because I was feeling for the character, but simultaneously I felt a little bit icky because there's this conversation that's constantly happening in the Black community about Black women being fast and getting pregnant out of wedlock and getting pregnant too young and not being able to pursue their education and perpetuating this cycle of generational trauma that has plagued our community for years. So, I don't know. Like, it was there in the show. It was very clear. And that's one thing that people are taking issue with. And this also ties into a larger conversation about non-Black people or non-POC equating Black girlhood with limitation and struggle. It can also potentially send the message that ambition and motherhood can't coexist for young Black women, which is problematic, I fear. Now, to be fair, we're only 2 episodes in, so we don't know how this story evolves, but as of right now, this is where we're at. I hope things change, but we gotta work with what we got. Now, moving on to point number 2 about Coco's roommate, the antagonist, who's also a dark-skinned Black woman, and throughout the 2 episodes, her concerns and frustrations about Coco attending an HBCU are dismissed, and she is labeled as doing too much.
Just another culture vulture. Matter of fact, let's all clap it up for the culture vulture for studying her Negro Cliff Notes before coming here. Good job. No,
Joy, just chill.
Like, y'all love inviting others to the cookout. Just because what? You know, tune, stay on beat, or spit a couple Black facts? No. You cannot earn Blackness.
I'm not trying to earn Blackness.
Basically, her roommate was painted as a bitter bully. I feel like her concerns about cultural appropriation are valid, but the show frames her as irrational and angry. That's not to say she went about her interactions with Coco correctly, because she definitely was a bully and inconsiderate. However, her concerns and the core of the issues that she has are not discussed in a way that's validating at all. It's like there was no understanding why she was upset. Instead of exploring her perspective, the writing makes it feel like this is the angry Black woman stereotype all over again, and it silences a real conversation about who gets to belong in Black spaces. From the writer's response, you can tell this isn't what she was going for, but the sentiment is being felt, and that is reflected in comment sections across YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Now, on to point number 3. I feel like there is a lack of nuance in this representation of HBCU culture. I understand the show is trying to celebrate HBCU culture. However, at the same time, I also feel like the representation is a bit exaggerated and superficial. At one point, there's a comment made about people dressing up on an HBCU campus, and I found that to be slightly problematic because a couple days ago, I made a video in response to this creator who was talking about how she would never attend an HBCU, and one of the reasons why was because there's this culture of like drip or drown, and you have to dress up every single day, and people have this misconception about HBCUs, and the show perpetuated it, and it's not true. You don't have to dress up every single day at an HBCU to be accepted. You really don't, and that narrative is spread across not just the Black community, but other people as well, and it's harmful. And even though it was just one line in the show, it had a larger impact on me. There are also just some other times throughout these 2 episodes where I did cringe, and that is partially due to the fact that there were so many different perceptions about HBCUs that felt like jam-packed into a very short amount of time. I understand they're trying to compel people to continue watching, which I respect and understand. You gotta market your stuff. However, it did feel like very surface level. It felt very surface level, and it didn't feel like there was nuance included. That's just my opinion after watching it. We're gonna quickly go over Keke Palmer's perspective. She made a video and posted it on her Instagram in response to all of the backlash. In total, the video was primarily about how she wanted to bring another Black creator's vision to life. That this was a way of amplifying stories that needed to be showcased, which is an admirable goal. I see it. I understand. However, I don't think that good intentions can excuse weak execution. I think when you're trying to depict something as layered as the HBCU experience, accuracy and authenticity matter just as much as inclusion. And honestly, the show just missed the mark for me. Now, we're moving on to Nakia Stevens, who is the writer and creator of the show. She explained that it was a product of her experiences as a student at Savannah State University, and she wanted to tell a diverse story. She said the goal was to spark conversations about inclusion and belonging, which again, I understand. And honestly, these are 2 Black women who are clearly very good at what they do. This project seems like such a large deviation from what we would expect from either creator, which is why there's such a visceral reaction from the community at large. yes, this is an overview of what I thought about the show. I watched each episode twice so that I could get as much information as possible. And if there are more episodes, I will watch them so that I can continue to understand what direction they're trying to take with this show. But I definitely understand why people are upset. I do not condone bullying or any like rude conversations about the actors or about people who are involved in the project, because at the end of the day, they're still human beings. They worked hard on this, and even though it's not being well received, I think they still deserve basic respect. So let's do that. But I think it's okay to have a critical eye. If something is put out for the public to consume, then the public should be able to have a response.
Did you meet the housing director?
Well, if you adore me, do you owe me?
I had to get my girl something for her first date in college.
But where'd you get it though? And where'd you get the money?
Girl, I can save it on my checks.
Like, the character is supposed to be raised in this environment, raised in this neighborhood, raised with her Black American family, and she doesn't talk right. She doesn't look right. She doesn't act right. And what the fuck is up with her hair? New artists deserve funding, deserve the opportunity to grow. But this feels like either a college project or an independent project from a first-time director that was already made before Keke Palmer got her hands on it. Like, it does not feel like she actually did anything with the production. Keke Palmer's Southern Fried Rice should have just been called Aquafina Apologia, because that's all it is. The story of a transracial Asian adoptee to Black American parents navigating college life sounds really interesting, but that type of story requires so much care and nuance and like a very specific tone that doesn't allow for ambiguity about whether or not the project is for Asian American actors playing caricatures of Black Americans, because we have to be against that. Asian Americans deserve more representation in Hollywood, deserve more representation in media, but it cannot come at the expense of Black Americans who also deserve more honest, good representation in media. And there's been way too many Asian Americans that profit off of turning into a caricature of a Black American that does not exist in real life and honestly only exists within the most racist writing room of an 80s sitcom. I watched some of Southern Fried Rice and it's not good. I get what they were trying to do, but they needed a lot more help and a lot more development, a lot more funding to make this into something that really wanted to speak to this issue in a nuanced, complex way. And like, the actor who plays Coco, she goes in and out of this accent.
Southern Fried Ass. This show sucks. Keke Palmer is the executive producer of a new show called Southern Fried Rice, which takes an Asian woman who was raised by a Black family, and it's her journey of being accepted into an HBCU. They just released the first 2 episodes. I watched episode 1. It's only 12 minutes long, and I'm about to tell you why this show is 0 out of 10 hot garbage. Everything about this show is so stereotypical, and what's annoying about this is that this is the mom, and she's starting off with all the Black mom, auntie stereotype. But one of the weird things about the show is that there's a really bad consistency in audio quality. And it was so inconsistent that I actually changed my settings. I was checking my settings to see what was going on. But there's some parts where it looks like it's lip synced. Peek this out. It goes on them getting upset about her because she ate some potato salad and she's on the floor. Her stomach is like dying right now. So a tap into like overused, corny Black stereotype, right? So they give her this paper to show that she's been accepted, and this is supposed to be the big reveal. And this is the design y'all chose. Like, what is this? Come on, man. So they're excited. It goes into the origin story of how she was adopted by her family, who was in the military in Korea. They couldn't have kids, so they decided to adopt her. Okay, that's fine. This casting is weird because Coco has no swag to her whatsoever. There is nothing about her that shows that she was raised in a stereotypical Black household. Come on, if you live in Atlanta, you know that the Asian women out here that have been primarily around Black people, they sound, they have mannerisms, they really show that that's how they were raised, right? And it's not fake, it's not fabricated. That's how they talk, that's how they act. But this, it's just like they literally grabbed a random Asian woman off the street and was like, yo, pretend like you're black. And she can't do it. Another weird case of like odd lip syncing.
I know, and I'm sorry. I didn't think I'd get in this stuff. You have to apologize, Coco.
So her friend, sister, I don't know what she is. She pretty much can't go to school because she got pregnant and she's going to have a baby. And this moment's supposed to be special for Coco. And her friend just starts like crying and ranting about how she's not able to go to college because she's going to have a baby. And the fact that she has to work at Walgreens. And I'm like, what? Like, couldn't they have made this storyline for her friend different? What's stopping her from going to college? I don't know if she's going to be a single mother or not, but plenty of women have babies very young, and they're in those colleges grinding. I was in community college. They were in those community colleges grinding. They had somebody take care of the baby while they were attending classes. So I just think that's a really stupid stereotype to go off of. This is your friend's moment. Let Coco's moment shine.
And your whole family thinks that keeping the baby is the responsible thing to do.
She starts crying and there's not a single tear, by the way. Top tier act. So the mom introduces her to a girl called Treasure while the friend helps take her box to the room. When she walks up in here, we got Timu Dr. Umar. But this is annoying. She's like, what are your pronouns? And then she's like talking and ranting, and you can tell she's going to be like the annoying character of the show. Like she's a literal stereotypical, they made her the dark-skinned, overweight black girl, and she's a baby Dr. Umar.
This is Coco.
So they introduce her, and her reaction, the Dr. Umar, black queens forever, rice bunnies never. And that's how that whack-ass first episode ends. And I don't know. I don't know if I can watch episode 2 of this. I don't know if I want to waste another 12 minutes of my life. If y'all think this review's worth it and you want me to review part 2, sure. But dude, this is garbage. Like, why would you make this caricature of just black people and black culture? Like, Kiki, you know better. And you from Chicago, like, you should know better. And it's not a mockery of just black culture, but even Asian culture too, right? And it's just such a dumb way to present this topic, as if she's going through a struggle. And it's like, no, she's been adopted. The people around her accept her. Now, Dr. Umar is not going to accept her, but who cares? Like, it's just a very weird premise to go off of. And there's so many other things that paint a positive light of black people. And this just is corny. Like, these celebrities are so out of touch. Keke Palmer has always been like a caricature to me. She's just always just over dramatic, just ridiculous. So this really makes sense coming from her. But this show is garbage. It's a 0 out of 10. I don't recommend it, even with it being 12 minutes. Garbage.
So apparently there's this new show about an Asian girl who was raised by a black family and goes to an HBCU. Now, admittedly, I haven't really researched into the whole thing, but just off the trailer alone, I'm feeling a little apprehensive. But as an Asian American who has grown up in predominantly Latino and black communities all her life, who really does take her allyship very, very seriously, I feel like there were so many ways that this could have been done differently. We cannot talk about the relationship between Asian Americans and black Americans without talking about the rampant anti-blackness that exists within our communities, and also just the model minority myth that pits us against each other. As a non-black person, I do feel like sometimes we have a tendency to center ourselves in conversations where we truly do not belong. Already there is so much controversy about non-black students attending HBCUs and non-black folks taking up space where they don't necessarily need to be. And I think it's so important, especially as Asian Americans, to understand our own privilege. And this is certainly not to undermine the violence and the anti-Asian sentiments that Asians have been experiencing for years as a result of the model minority myth. But I think it's also important that we acknowledge the privilege that does come with being Asian. And I think our inability to acknowledge our own privilege within these dynamics really prevents us from showing up fully for our black counterparts. And coupled with the contentious relationship that a lot of Asian Americans have with black Americans and vice versa, that is primarily why I feel like this is gonna fall flat, babe. Like, there were so many ways that you could have gone about this.
Kiki, are you working with the CIA? Are you working with the CIA? Just tell us if you are. I know you keep a job, Palmer. You keep many jobs. Is CIA now part of your extended resume? If so, please let us know, because what is this show? What is this show about a Korean girl being the main character of a show where she's going to an HBCU? And the show's called Southern Fried Rice. Make that make sense. Help me understand. Help me understand, because the concept is like... And the discourse that's come out of this, obviously, everybody's confused. Asian people, black people, we're all confused. And we're trying to understand. But the discourse that's come out of it, I'm seeing a lot of unwarranted hatred towards my people. From a show, due to a show, this show, that we didn't take part in producing. Like, what is this? Are you working with the CIA? Please just let us know if you are. Because this is very CIA moves. I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand, like, the swirl that this has caused. Like, what is going on? Kiki, I love you, but please, what's going on? Are you working with the CIA?
All this talk with the Southern Fried Rice show, speaking as somebody with no skin in the game, I would just say, personally, I think they missed the mark. Because if we just take away the target audience for a second, whoever that's supposed to be, what is compelling enough about this story that should make me want to follow it? Because from my understanding, in universe, this is about an East Asian adoptee from a black family and a black community that decides to attend an HBCU so that she can continue to be surrounded by a black community. That key word being continue. She's already spent her entire life in a black community. What new challenge is she facing at university that is directly related to her racial and cultural identities that she wouldn't have already had to face in the past 18 years of being an Asian adoptee in a black community and black family? And before I expand further, because this video will get too long, let's just take all that away, right? Now we're all on the same playing field. Now it's a story, a coming of age of going to college, being away from family for the first time, learning to be an adult, navigating relationships. So what makes her story particularly unique that we need to follow the one non-black character in an otherwise all-black TV show? Because you're not going to tell me that a pigeon just dropped her off the telephone wire yesterday and she's only learning about racism right now from hostility in her new environment, which is only one character, which that's a whole other thing. Why would they assign that character that role? Otherwise, what is supposed to be compelling enough for me to follow this story? Like, the pure logic of it, there's nothing new. There's no new challenge that's directly related to her identity. So why... What was necessary about making that identity for the main character? I guess that's the best question that I have to put for it. Otherwise, very interesting, fun character. Don't think we needed to follow her for this story.
Honestly, that Southern Fried Rice could have been a good show. Mind you, I'm not here to talk about how I'm offended by the premise or anything like that. It's an 11-minute YouTube series. I could care less. I'm giving critical. Not to be disrespectful to Keke Palmer, but if I was a dummy and I watched the video that she did where she was like, oh, I'm employing black creatives and that's what Key TV is, I would have fell for the gimmick, right? Because that's how I felt when the show was announced. Side note, if you don't know what the Southern Fried Rice thing is, it's basically a Key TV, like the Keke Palmer produced network on YouTube. It's a little series that is about a Asian Korean girl who was adopted by a black family when she was a baby. Raised in Georgia, and so black people are like all she knows. And she decides to go to the HBCU. Side note again, I watched the first episode.
She decides to go to the HBCU because in her mind, she just wants to be around people that understand her, which are black people, because she's from a small town, so all the black people know that, like, she's like one of them, I guess. Though I understand the criticism towards the premise, I don't necessarily think that's a horrible concept. I have seen hundreds of takes. I understand what the problem is. I think everyone's dislike and discomfort is very valid for a story where the setting is an HBCU. But the protagonist isn't even black. I could totally understand the frustrations and the anger behind that. But the fact that this is black women that made the show, like, this is the story that them niggas wanted to create. Anyway, because I'm very much like, you know, give a nigga a chance. I gave a nigga a chance. Lord. The kicker is Southern Fried Rice could have been a great story if there were two protagonists. To make a story to explore the cultural line of being raised in black culture while also creating an identity of your own, I don't think that's an issue. What I think is an issue is the fact that this could have been very well displayed if the main character was like a black girl and a Korean girl. If she had like a black sister or something. She has a black best friend, but you know what happens to her? The girl is literally upset because she feels like she can't go to college anymore since she's pregnant and her entire family expected her to do nothing with her life and she's stuck in her hometown. That's somebody's life, but in 2025, that don't necessarily need to be the fictional story of a nigga. That's some shit that you read on Wattpad.
Whole life, I've been doing everything to make sure I didn't end up like my mama. SGA, AP classes, extracurricular activities. But somehow I still ended up pregnant and stuck in my hometown working at Walgreens.
That's where you lost me. That's where you lost me, Pookie. It's so specifically niche and stereotypical that it's almost offensive, even if it was made by a black person, you know? That's a joke that you write on, like, I don't know, American Dad or like Boondocks or like Family Guy. While obviously in real life it is an issue to be, I guess, a mother and in college, I don't necessarily believe that we are still in the time of that. It is genuinely written like somebody who either was never actually around black people before, despite the creator coming from an HBCU, or somebody who like hate like pro-black people. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Even the title in itself, Southern Fried Rice, the idea really would have been a mixed story of a black girl and a Korean girl, or a black boy and a Korean like person, in the idea of, okay, this is like my other adopted black family member, since apparently like the family can't have kids or anything like that, and that's why they adopted her. But like, you feel me what I'm saying? It would have been very interesting, or at least done a lot more appropriate in how going to college and going to an HBCU, especially as like a black person who's still figuring themselves out, and as a Korean person who believes like mentally they are black, the way that diversion or that division then is created, the way that problems are then addressed and actually solved, instead of trying to tiptoe and pussyfoot around accepting a non-nigga in a nigga space. Like, that's crazy. It's crazy. I'm not mad, but it's insane.
What in the hell is Southern Fried Rice? On the surface, it is a show about a Asian girl, specifically a Korean girl, who, from what I can tell, is adopted by a black couple and then ends up getting accepted into an HBCU. Off the top, it doesn't sound too bad. I mean, it's kind of weird how media keeps on insisting that HBCUs should focus on everyone but black people, especially since it seems a big theme of the show is the main character feeling excluded. It's like, I just wouldn't use an HBCU to do that. I don't think they should be demonized for doing what they existed to do. I also wonder why they didn't just make the main character a Malaysian woman. Well, I have a feeling I know why now. But yeah, I just feel like overall that would have opened them up to a wider audience. I think it would have been more relatable, even if the people watching weren't Malaysian, because, you know, mixed struggles, all of that, etc. But all in all, I guess it's not the worst concept for a show there's been. But when you start looking into it, well, let's just say it's very ironic that the writer of all people is calling us anti-intellectual. You know what? Let's even start with the title. Although, to be fair, it's probably the least worst thing out of this entire show, but it's still funny. So obviously the title seems to be a reference to the fact that the main character, a Korean girl, grew up in a predominantly black area. Whole time, fried rice isn't Korean. Again, not the most egregious thing to come out of this series, but at the same time, it's already a sign that clearly not a lot of research was done. Like I assessed earlier on, it truly is just a pity party about an Asian person feeling excluded from black culture. And this is solidified by the fact that the main villain is a overweight black woman, dark skin even, who is too woke. Mind you, they said this show is meant to inspire dialogue. I'm so sorry, the only dialogue this show is inspiring is the same kind of dialogue that Fox News does. Like, the whole thing really does read as somebody's obsession with Asian people coming at the expense of black people. And what's crazy is, turns out that's actually the case. The creator of the show literally has an Asian fetish, dude. Like, look at these tweets. She is obsessed with them. No wonder she wanted to make a show in which an Asian person was centered in black spaces, and every black person who graced the screen is either an evil wokey or just straight up a stereotype, like her best friend, who didn't go to college because she got pregnant as a teenager. There are two people behind the show. I just can't prove it yet. One, somebody who has the "I'm too black for the white kids, but too white for the black kids" quote posted all over their wall, and Tyler Perry. Jokes aside, I truly think this can all be traced back to the model minority myth, which, if you don't know, is the perception of Asian, specifically East Asian minorities, as a respectable minority group, hardworking, diligent, whilst at the expense of portraying black people as ghetto, lazy, violent, etc. And this is something that to this day is very much perpetuated. I mean, look at how people treat K-pop versus rap, despite the fact that K-pop is very obviously inspired by black culture in so many ways. And this just feels like another part of it, another way where black culture can be appealing on non-black people, but not on actual black people. And to circle back to the HBCU thing, it is just so odd for the creator to try and use that setting to victimize the Asian girl, especially with the history of Asian people against affirmative action because they believe that black people were benefiting unfairly from it. Like, the whole thing is just so insensitive, and you can tell nobody really thought it through. Honestly, it just reads as a self-hating black girl's fantasy about being an Asian woman, which probably isn't that far from the truth considering the fact that she lied about being part Asian. As for Keke Palmer, let's just say,
I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous, I don't know who this man is.
Children see color, but they don't see it in the respect that adults do. So to say that children don't see color is a lie. You can look in Asia, when a black person goes to Asia, the children stare because they notice the person's skin tone is different than theirs. My daughter is half black, and I had always made it a point to put her in predominantly black and Asian schools. I wanted her to be surrounded by her peers. Kindergarten, she gets invited to her first birthday party, and I am ecstatic, okay? My little girl was going to be able to go to all the birthday parties and dances that my first-gen immigrant family ass could not go to. I look at the invitation, the little girl's name, the mom to contact, and I call the mom and let her know that we are coming. Because if you know anything about my daughter, if you give her something to give to someone else, she's going to lose that shit in her backpack. And I really wanted her to go to this party. She really wanted to go. We went shopping for the little girl, and we went to go get her a doll baby. I forgot what type of doll baby that was big at the time. This is early 2000s. And I wanted to get a doll baby that was representative of the little girl. I'm assuming the little girl is black because of her name, her mom's name, and after speaking with her mother. Wasn't trying to be racial at all. I've just grown up around black people. And yes, I know there are white chicks named Tanisha. I knew a bitch named that as well. So we're at the store and I'm telling my baby, let's get this little brown baby doll for your friend. She said, no, mama, she's white. So she goes to the little blonde, blue-eyed doll. And I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yes, ma'am, she's white. I kind of want to buy the brown baby, but I don't want to offend the mom if the child is indeed white. Because this was before white people realized that it's okay for your daughter to have a black doll baby. We wrap the gift, and the next Saturday, we go to the baby's birthday party. Y'all, the child is black, but she's albino. I made the right call on getting the black baby doll for her. I am just glad that at the time, she was 4 or 5 years old, my daughter can enjoy color without nuance. She never felt anything was different about her because of the neighborhoods we lived in and that I raised her in. And honestly, she never felt like she was different until she went to a PWI college. And as an Asian who grew up in the South in predominantly black neighborhoods, I feel like this is a lot better story than Southern fucking Fried Rice.
People are dragging like Keke Palmer for like the Southern Fried Rice like show, web series or whatever that she produced. And she came on Twitter and basically was like, y'all, I didn't write this, I didn't make this, I just funded it. Like, I'm just funding the black directors and, you know, whatever. At this point, Keke is just Keke. But, like, the black creators behind it, apparently they're, like, all HBCU alumni. And, you know, she says it's been 10 years in the making. And honestly, I believe her because it gives, like, this should have came out in 2015, 2014. That era when there was a lot of going on. You know what I'm saying? And, like, if this was a black kid raised by white parents who had no, like, tie to their culture, we would say those white parents failed their child. We would say, oh, you failed your kid by not introducing them to black culture. Whichever black diaspora group they came from, African American, Caribbean, African, like, if a white parent did not introduce their black child to their black culture, we would have said them people failed in raising that child. And I'm supposed to root for this Asian character whose parents did not teach her anything about her own culture, that the only culture she knows is blackness, by not teaching her, hey, even though you're in a black family, you're not black. There are certain things you can't do, certain ways you can't move. Like, maybe they touch on it later in the series, I don't know. But the synopsis somebody gave on here, because they watched it and they gave a synopsis so we didn't have to watch. I don't know if they're going to touch on it. Hopefully they do, but, like, they're not getting any views out of me. Like, I agree with the people that talked about, you know, they could have had a black kid adopted by a white family. This is their first time in an all-black space. They could have did a Blasian story in them
maybe having grown up with an Asian family and now they have to get to see their black side. Like, I don't know, but like there are many ways you could have told like a fish out of water story without censoring a non-black person in a black space. Especially, when was the last time we had like a genuine like HBCU show? The only one I can think of genuinely is All American Homecoming, and it got canceled. And before All American Homecoming, there was A Different World. In a society, in the climate that we're in, where they're cutting fast food for people, they're capping at how much student loans you can get for like lower income people, where black women are getting laid off left and right, where we're being kept out and barred from higher education via affirmative action being overruled or overturned or whatever via a certain group. You would think, hey, I'm gonna make a college age coming of age story. Instead of censoring a black girl, where you could have still had the Asian girl as like a side character and still tell her story, but still have a black girl be the main focus, you decided, no, I'm going to make a non-black person's viewpoint of an HBCU like the main thing in this climate. And it's really like to me, especially because they're all HBCU grads, like I just don't get it. Like, you have your own stories to tell. You have your own experience that came with being an HBCU grad, especially, I'm pretty sure they're older than me. If it's been 10 years in the making, that means you had to be in school in like 2015. That is such an era to be in for college. You could have told a real story. And people yearn for black stories. Like Forever on Netflix, even though it was more like a young adult high school coming of age story, like the kids yearn for that stuff. They yearn for that stuff. And it was set in like 2015, 2018. And the people loved it. So you could have set a college story in 2015, 2018 of being a young black girl. That was like peak, like Twitter dragging black women, all types of other stuff. Their experience of navigating like this newfound like openness about blackness and natural hair movement, all this other crap that could have been done. But no. Like, okay, bruh. All right.
What really grinds my gears about Southern Fried Rice is they made the black girl. She did all the AP classes, did all the extra work, got all the good grades just for her to get pregnant and not go to college. And then she didn't go to college because she got pregnant just for her to turn around and have an abortion. And then y'all didn't even really talk about abortions for real. So what the fuck was the point? Why couldn't she go to school? And why did y'all call it Southern Fried Rice and the girl is Korean and fried rice is Chinese? And the actress who's playing the Korean girl in a Chinese labeled show isn't even Korean or Chinese. And it's black scent. Cornbread. Bitch. Anyway, and then the black scent miraculously disappears after like 2 episodes. And why did I go into this thinking that this was like a 30-minute show on like some new streaming app? This is like a 12 to 15-minute clips on YouTube. What? Anyway, I don't know. Kiki, I understand you saying that like this is not your show. You greenlit this monstrosity of entertainment, which is not entertaining at all. It's honestly just really like baffling. Because what the fuck even was that? I watched every episode and I do plan on making a video to recap every one because I took notes because there are so many things that is just like, excuse me? So yeah, anyway.
There's gonna be a controversial take, and there's no shade to this person because I can see why easily you can be like, oh, she should have known better. As someone who has worked in theater, and entertainment, TV and theater is gonna be very different. Theater, they pay you crumbs, but I can only assume in entertainment it might be the same when you are very new and nobody knows your name. You're just starting out. You need to pay bills. Sometimes you're just taking on whatever project comes your way. I have worked on a questionable show. It made me very uncomfortable. The show was called Hot Mikado. It's a very weird show because it feels very cultural appropriation-y of Japanese folks, but like the music's pretty good. It's very like jazz. And as you can imagine, nobody that was casted was Asian or Asian presenting. I think there was one dude that was mixed, but like if I was to look at him, I wouldn't know. Like I was the one who had to teach them how to pop a fan. I was the one who had to teach them like how to bow. I was telling them like Japan, they're not bowing that way, but it's okay because what the director decided was that we were gonna go play within a play. Well, all of these actors who are not Asian are put in this show, and the opening song is called "We Are Gentlemen from Japan," and she tells them, when you guys all sing this opening line, everybody has to physically do it like no, we're not, we're just like silly people trying to put on a play and we don't know what we're doing. That's the whole bit. Costumes are a little questionable. Costume designer, hilariously enough, was also Asian. I think we're like the only 2 Asian folks working on this show. And again, we're not on stage. Do I hate all of the actors that decided to take on this role? I don't. Actually, a lot of them are my friends. a lot of them were very uncomfortable with the themes of the show. But the music was great. They're wonderful performers. The choreography was amazing. I think we had like a Grammy award-winning singer that was also in the show. Because of the direction that the director took this play, it was very well received. But questionable, because easily people could have been like, why are a bunch of non-Asians playing these Asian characters? I don't care that it's this like silly bit. It was kind of giving like Tropic Thunder, if you've seen Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Is this okay? Because the whole bit is that he knows he's not this character. He's an actor, and it's a play within a play. It's a movie within a movie. And it is really hard because when you're in this show and you have no input in the story writing and the direction and where the music or the choreography or anything, the route of where the story is going to go, it is really hard to figure out that fine line of what is okay and what's not okay. Especially when you have an entire team that's like, assumingly, hyping you up for this role. Like, it would be a problem if it was an Asian writer and director who decided this is the plot they want to go. That's very problematic. You can only be a vessel, and you'll never know how the audience is going to perceive the project. It is a risk a lot of artists have to take, unfortunately.
The timing of the show, Southern Fried Rice, coming out right now is not a coincidence, because you have to ask yourself, who is this show made for? And what is the intention? It is a historical pattern that the empire uses media as a tool of supremacy to divide and conquer groups, specifically among Black and Asian groups. And they use media for all sorts of nefarious reasons. For example, Marvel was funded by the Department of Defense, which is now called the Department of War. Media provide this myth and lore to justify invading other countries to protect democracy. The same tool is used to pit us against each other because they are afraid when we unite and we fight back together. And when we talk about Black and Asian communities, Black and Asian are not monoliths either. There needs to be a lot of nuance when we talk about these topics. And so do I believe that Keke Palmer and the other creator, I forget her name, of this show are ops? Maybe. There's a reason why some projects get greenlit by these huge media companies.
As somebody who has had a very similar experience to this, I want to explain to you why this show is not what you think this is, okay? This show takes all the negative, harmful stereotypes and plays it up and applies it to somebody's reality, which we're just like, whose reality is this, okay? So growing up, I was considered a bad kid, and I wasn't really accepted by the Asian community. But I was lucky enough to grow up in a really diverse area where literally every other group accepted me, okay? And then I went to college where it was predominantly white. Okay, and I was like, these are not like the type of white people I know. Like, they were like practicing whites. Like, they were like Trump, hate crime, white people. So when that happened, the Black community took me under their wing. Black women specifically were like, here, come here. You're safe here. So like, where's that type of representation? Like, even this is a better story than Southern Fried Rice already. Like, this is the type of representation that would be preferred, but not even that. It's like, why can't Asian people have a story on their own? Like, why can't a Black person have a story on their own where it accurately represents the different types of lives that we lead? Like, this Korean girl at an HBCU adopted by a Black family is just so outlandish, because Asian people in the South do exist. Asian people exist in the South with a Southern accent exist without having to be adopted by a Black family and eat catfish and cornbread. Like, this is just such a vast exaggeration that didn't need to happen for a story to be told. Okay? It's just not the same.
Episode 1, about 4 minutes in.
Was raised on catfish, cornbread, and do you got McDonald's money?
Southern Fried Rice had a lot of potential that frankly got wasted. I am not black, nor have I ever attended an HBCU. I have been seeing a lot of creators online talk about the ways in which Southern Fried Rice either misrepresents or stereotypes the experiences of going to an HBCU, and I kind of wanted to add also my thoughts as a Chinese American. So I watched all 7 episodes of the show, and there are some things that I did like. I really loved Joy, and frankly I think she's kind of right in a lot of ways. Black experience cannot be bought, and I think she has the right to feel a certain amount of defensiveness. I really enjoyed the kind of progression between Coco and her, as well as the way they bonded through the Miss Excellence program. And then watching all of that culminate to Coco being the one, knowing that she has to be the one to talk to the police because, like, the police are gonna believe her. What can I say? I think, like, that was really cool progression. And then it kind of falls apart because it wasn't really given enough time to feel earned. It wasn't really given enough time to develop. And instead, like, we just kind of get a bunch of scenes where these stereotypes get played out. Then I saw Nakia Stevens' post talking about the inspiration behind Southern Fried Rice being her experiences studying abroad in Shanghai and also going to an HBCU, and then having, you know, the people from Shanghai go to an HBCU and navigating that. And I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed on the slideshow being titled Oriental Outings, and it's kind of like hidden away by this like little yellow circle. At this point, I am just asking we stop using the word Oriental. Can we just cut that from our vocabulary collectively as a culture? And I think it's emblematic of the kind of lack of attentiveness that is going on in this show. One of the examples is Coco wearing this sexy ninja dragon kimono number going on during the Halloween episode, and it's just never addressed. We don't talk about it. People have been noticing this trend where Asian characters, the only time they get like major roles is when they're playing either a stereotype of what it means to be Asian, or they're playing a stereotype of someone else. And frankly, having a person of color do racism does not make it not racist. Stevens even goes as far to be like, oh, like, I have this Korean friend who, like, okayed it, and so therefore the show is okay. There are a lot of other examples of this kind of weird anti-Asian stereotype / sentiment going on in this show, but I kind of want to end the video quoting Joy when she says, "You can't buy the Black experience. You also can't buy being Asian or a transracial adoptee." I'm kind of saddened that we are put in a position where Asian diaspora and Black diaspora have to be at odds in America, and it's designed like that for a reason. Also go watch Centers, because I think it's really cool, and there's a really awesome portrayal of Mississippi Delta Chinese immigrants that I think you should go check out.
Okay, there is an uproar and a lot of confusion involving Southern Fried Rice, involving Keke Palmer. As someone who is into symbolism and decoding, I'm going to show you and tell you guys in the best way possible just why this is happening. Because as you guys know, you guys already know this, but things need to be shown to us to prepare us for what's coming. Their agenda, if you will. I will give you guys specific examples that have happened, especially as of recently, to show you that this has been in front of our face for a very long time. Before I do so, backstory about me, I am half African American and I did graduate from a HBCU, so I completely understand why a lot of the African American population is just, they feel like this show is very distasteful, given our history, given how non-African American people feel like they can just take our culture, and all around it's just like, okay, why? I'm gonna tell you why. Here are some quick examples of how this has already been in our face, and then after I'll tell you what this means for us. First example, recently, Megan Thee Stallion collaborated with Yuki Chiba, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, male Asian rapper, and he is Japanese. We also see with this how African Americans and an Asian dynamic, especially when it comes to our rap culture. There also has been a lot of speculation and talk that actually Megan Thee Stallion herself wants to move to an Asian country. And a huge one is Timbaland's AI artist, Tata Taktumi, not sure if I'm pronouncing his AI artist name correctly, who is an Asian woman, Asian AI woman, so she's not even a real woman, a robot, computer-made AI artist that a black artist made. I'm trying to show you guys how this is, they're trying to push this on us for a reason. Another example of this agenda is Nina, who kind of rose to fame pretty quickly, especially after working with Drewski. She is Asian American, I believe. And a lot of things that I have seen with her, she does have a black scent, right? When Magic City, strippers went to Tokyo, I believe they went to Tokyo, correct me if I'm wrong. And even if they are not fully aware of the gender they're participating in, it all ties together. It all ties together, right? This is all about energetic fields and what these people are preparing us for. These are just quick examples off the top of my head, but I can get in deeper into this topic if you so wish on the next video. Okay, finally, you're like, okay, China, what is it? But why are they, why? Be prepared in the next few years, maybe even quicker. They are going to be preparing us for a lot more Asian influences, and this could be involving war, this could be involving allies and more agreements and partnerships with certain Asian countries. They are preparing us for it. So when we do mix with them in whatever way, whether a lot of people from Asian countries start coming to the US at a higher rate, or we African Americans move there, for whatever thing they're planning, that we're prepared for it. And it's, we're desensitized. They have to put it in our face, right? And desensitize us to it before they start rolling in with the action. And I get it. It's like, okay, but why does this always have to happen to African American culture? Well, unfortunately for us, we rule the United States when it comes to culture, when it comes to influence, right? So they have to start with African American culture first. And when you start with African American culture, everything else leads. Everything else follows. Please forgive me with the words I'm saying. I just got back from the gym. Once you start with African American culture, everyone else will follow. So, yes, do I think that this is just one small thing in a huge agenda involving Asian people, probably a specific Asian country, and the US and African American people? For sure. I mean, it is. And you can be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, well, just wait. Because this has been rolling out for quite some time. And you could also be like, well, the girl in the show, in the Keke Palmer show, Southern Fried Rice is Korean. Okay, I understand that. But it's not so much certain details like that. It's more so the fact that there will be a lot of things happening between us and Asia. Soon, now, you don't gotta take my word for it, but just watch. Come back to this video and watch.
So as for my reaction about this Southern Fried Rice TV show, just based on the trailer and some insight from other TikTokers in this video, that's pretty much enough for me to see. So like, you grew up in a black neighborhood, adopted by a black family, lived there all your life, and you're still trying to find yourself, trying to find acceptance. Like, if you're trying to quote unquote find yourself, why don't you just go back to Korea? I'm just saying. So you attended an HBCU. Okay, cool, no problem. But the fact that your best friend couldn't go to the HBCU is because she got pregnant. Like, what? But then found out later she ended up getting an abortion anyways? Like, come on, what is this crap? And of course, you gotta have the antagonistic, big back, dark skinned black woman when all she was doing was just preserving black culture. But they portrayed her as a bully to this Asian American, specifically Korean. Okay? And also, Southern Fried Rice is not based out of Korean. It's Chinese, by the way. It's like the writers and the executive producer, they literally did not do their homework before making this show. Like, what was the purpose of this show? It serves no purpose. Who are they trying to appeal to? Obviously, Hollywood has run out of ideas. And they're just throwing stuff out there without even proof watching it, let alone reviewing their own work. It's so stupid, if you ask me. Obviously, there's a bigger picture behind all of this, like the last TikToker had said. There is a bigger picture, and it has yet to come. So, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe. I'll catch you later.